Okay, now this may sound kind of, I can't get my head around this description that you're saying, Perry. So I want to tie it to something that you're probably familiar with. If you remember, maybe 15 years ago, there was this thing called the frequent flyer mile. We have frequent flyer mile programs today, but they've changed a lot. But 15 years ago, frequent flyer mile programs operated exactly the way that I just described this type of reward system. So when you flew a certain amount of miles, you earned this reward. You couldn't transfer the reward to anyone else. They're yours to keep. No one could take them from you, although initially the reward programs had this expiration date for them. But generally, no one could take them from you. You couldn't give them to anyone, and they can only be used for one thing. Until a little bit later, they started adding these other things that you could buy with your frequent flyer miles. Remember this? Okay. So everyone is familiar with the frequent flyer mile program. Well, we're basically saying the same thing here. We're going to create this reward program that's going to replace money, that's going to allow you to have access to the luxuries. You don't need the rewards to get your necessities because they're provided to you at no cost. Okay, so the next question I get usually at this point is, well, who's going to administer this reward program? And this is where people tend to think that the innovation we've created at Copiosis is a government, when in reality it is not a government at all. There's no government in a Copiosis society. But we do have this thing called the payer organization. So the payer organization is the organization that administers the reward program. They don't decide who gets rewards or how much. That's accomplished by an algorithm I'm going to talk about in a minute. But what they do provide is a human interface for members of the society to interact with their rewards. They work with a lot of numbers, a lot of data. So basically what they're doing is they're going out into the society and they're bringing in all the inputs that are necessary to drive the algorithm. So you may have scientists out there who are measuring the pollution contribution of automobiles and bringing that information back to the organization. You may have people out there in the farming community measuring what farmers are doing in terms of product yields and the ROI based on certain types of technologies that they're using and bringing that data back to the payer organization. All this data is being amassed and put into the algorithms that we're designing that determine what reward individuals are going to get for whatever actions that they're producing in this new society. Now bear with me because we're reverse engineering, so we're kind of going backwards through this solution. It'll make sense at the end, I promise. This organization also, these individuals who are all volunteers, and anyone can volunteer to be part of the payer organization, they also act as a human interface for people in the society. So if you have a question about your reward points or what have you, you can go to a human being and talk to that person. How many people saw Elysium? Anyone see Elysium? Okay, remember that scene in Elysium where Matt Damon has to go and talk to the counselor, and instead of there being a human being, there's that dummy that's speaking with him? Okay, there's none of that in this system. You actually have a human being to talk to as opposed to an automaton. So people ask, well, where are these people going to come from that are going to populate this payer organization? Well, if you think about the government and all of the agencies it represents, there are literally millions of people that automatically become available whose skills and abilities and education and training lend themselves to participating as volunteers in the payer organization. Now, of course, the payer organization, the individuals who volunteer for the payer organization also receive reward just like everyone else. So they are, in a sense, paid, even though in this system there is no pay because there is no money. So the individuals who would populate the payer organization are the same people who today are out there in the field collecting all kinds of data for whatever purpose. So there are statisticians, there are scientists, there are researchers, there are data analyzers, there are analysts, there are people who produce pretty charts with numbers. All these types of people that do the work they do today to support society and the government would do the same things, but in support of the payer organization.